What's going on, good people? It's Nguvu from my Run and Gun Firearms training, and tonight I want to talk about why these holsters are trash. All right, so how did I have your attention? Let me just say that when we're starting out, a lot of times we don't know any better and we're subject to buying things that are poor quality, or we're shopping based on price, which is another mistake. I am not immune to that. This is my first EDC belt, and it's an Uncle Mike's. If you know anything about firearms, you know Uncle Mike's is some trash. You can see how flimsy this shit is, right? So yeah, so there's that. So I'm not immune or above any of these mistakes, but I want to kind of impart some knowledge onto you so that we don't continue to make the same mistakes and then feel like we need to defend our mistakes when we make them, because we are human, right? So if you're going to buy a holster, let me just say that most holsters that are sold in gun stores are garbage. They just are. The stuff that they get in the average gun shop, it's just not any good. It probably has a really high profit margin, and that's why they're selling it. Now, if you want something good, you typically have to go online. The problem with that is that people will go towards Amazon, because we love Amazon, and they're looking for gun accessories. There are some quality things you can get on Amazon, but if you don't know what you're looking for and you don't know how to determine what is quality and what isn't, then especially, again, if you're shopping based on price, you're probably gonna make a selection that isn't any good. So these nylon holsters are no good, family. They are trash. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. It is what it is. I'd rather tell you the truth than lie to you, right? So when you buy a holster, your holster should be, in my opinion, either Kydex or leather. Leather is a little more maintenance heavy. You have to make sure you protect it and do more shit with leather than you do with Kydex. Kydex is almost set it and forget it. You just have to make sure it's not cracked. With leather, you just want to make sure that it's not pinching into the trigger guard, so that when you go to insert your firearm, it doesn't press against the trigger and you have a negligent discharge. So there's nothing wrong with leather, but I'm a fan of Kydex. Does a lot better in the elements. So it does matter the material that it's made out of, as if with almost anything, right? If you're going to buy a sword, you don't want to buy a sword that's made out of plastic, right? It's just not going to serve its purpose. So that Kydex and or leather should be molded to the shape of your firearm. If it is not, the only other acceptable thing for it to be is molded to the shape of your weapon mounted light, so that you could have, say, several pistols fit a particular holster as long as they have this particular weapon mounted light attached to them. That's fine, that's acceptable. But if you have a holster that's not molded in any shape or form to any firearm, then that's a sure sign that your holster probably is less than ideal, and I'll say it nicely this time. So again, it should be molded to the light or molded to the firearm itself for proper retention. Snaps are not proper retention. Snaps are for baby clothes. Snaps are not for firearms that are designed to protect your life or the lives of people that you care about. It just isn't. That snap is going to be slow. It's also going to be easy to defeat. There's just a gang of reasons why you don't want to go with snaps. If you need retention, so if you're carrying open, then you're going to want retention. You want something like a Safariland. Now, it doesn't have to be Safariland, but you're going to want a holster that has some sort of active retention. This is a level 3. So if you're not familiar, real quick, level 1 is just friction. All right, so all holsters have level 1. Level 2 is the next thing. So for this one, you have to press this nub back, right? Back towards the bottom of the grip or back behind you. It will release the gun. Level 3 on this one, there's a hood that goes around, kind of like your snap, but a lot better. This is the real way you do it. Goes behind the gun so that it can't be pulled out. So if you have it in level 3 condition, you'd have to defeat that part of retention and then defeat the next, and the gun will come out. So this is the way you do it, all right? But you don't do it with a snap. So now that we got that out of the way, firearm stuff is expensive, and I do understand that. I'm not judging anyone that bought whatever they could afford in that moment, because something is better than nothing. I'd rather you have a nylon holster with a fucking snap on it than have your, firearm in your pants, in your pocket, in your purse, in your bag, whatever it is, with the trigger guard completely unprotected. Make no mistake, I want to be clear on that. However, we have to make sure that we're buying something that makes sense. So I'd rather you wait another 2 weeks, another month, and get something that makes sense than to rush out and get a nylon holster and then never upgrade it and just rock with it, because that nylon is going to be trash. Another thing about the nylon holsters is the point that connects to your belt. That is normally just, again, just a fabric loop that's sewn on. If you look at people wearing nylon holsters, instead of their holster being vertical like this, it's sagging that way, because that material has some give and stretch to it, and it's not connected to the belt securely. So as you move, your gun will move. So if you're trying to draw your firearm while you're moving, that could be an issue because the gun might not be where you expect it to be. All right, if you have moved and then you go to draw your firearm again may have moved, which can be an issue. It also makes it harder for you to build speed, because speed is a byproduct of efficient motion, right? And then also consistency. So if you're not doing something consistently, if I don't know my gun is going to be exactly where I want it to be each time, it's going to be hard for me to develop any kind of speed, because every time I go to get my gun, it's going to be somewhere different, right? I need my firearm to be in the same spot each time so I can build that muscle memory. If my firearm is doing this, that is going to be very hard to do, all right? So very important. So the attachment, again, on those is just a piece of fabric. Your attachment to your belt should be either metal or, again, some type of really hard Kydex, all right? One of those two things, or if you have a leather holster, then that's acceptable as well. But you want to make sure that that securely has your firearm to your belt and it does not allow that firearm to move. All right, so you want to make sure when you test that out, you test it out with a loaded gun, because that loaded gun is going to be heavier than an empty gun. All right. And then jump around in your equipment. If you're jumping around your equipment should not be flopping around at all. There's no reason for that. Because again, if you need to draw it when you are moving, there could potentially be an issue. So I know this is going to hurt some feelings, but it is what it is. When you know better, you do better. Saying this out of love, nylon is trash. Nylon is trash. If you have any questions, go ahead and put your hurt feelings down in the comments and we'll talk about it. Y'all be safe.
Give me the 14 when it's 14, we kill 14, what you know about AR-15, the class 16, making us start steam.